You became ready to have individuals talk wild about you to a battle before the world. What happened? We got exceptionally brilliant. It was only one individual slapping the taste out of the other one's mouth when Satan comes at you, perhaps. This is on the grounds that you're attempting to accomplish something right. Not a mystery. Will Smith's standing went down the channel after that scandalous episode at Oscars last year. Yet evidently, the entertainer can't adapt to the results of his own decisions. And he continues to get into spouts with all celebs who are reviewing this occurrence and discuss him as an antagonist in the story. And it seems like the entertainer has some nerve since this time. He stood up to regardless unbelievable Denzel Washington for openly calling Will villain. Is that a beginning of one more quarrel in the business over a discourteous explanation around here? You became ready to have individuals disregarding you. We should figure out. Greetings, everybody, and welcome back to Celeb Life Channel. So the 94th Foundation Grant Service stays quite possibly of the most significant occasion in the Broadway in the beyond couple of years, fundamentally because of one notorious episode, including entertainer Will Smith and Connie, and Chris Rock. Gracious wow. And since that happened, some high-profile individuals freely offered their viewpoints on this occurrence anyway. Not a single one of them were pretty much as striking as Denzel Washington. While going to the Global Authority culmination, double-cross Oscar victor Denzel Washington partook in an expert class meeting where he was gotten some information about his job in the repercussions of Will Smith slapping Chris Rock. Denzel proceeded with caution prior to noting and afterward involves something exemplary. As a reaction, there's a colloquialism. When Satan disregards you, then you realize you're accomplishing something wrong. Smith's public aftermath over the slap has transformed into the greatest emergency of his vocation. And it seems like the Oscar-winning entertainer is distraught that individuals hold hauling what is happening to the light again and again, and in particular, calling him names, particularly considering the way that Smith distributed a video with his open acknowledgments to shake Chris. I am sorry to you. Yet as per Denzel, something had Will Smith that evening in the notable Dolby Theater, and he accepts that the entertainer's way of behaving was way off the mark. And as Denzel said, clearly Smith required some sort of help to go through this period. And despite the fact that Denzel wished Smith only genuine serenity, it appears as though Will is so shocked with anybody who at any point specifies this monstrous snapshot of his profession that he makes a huge deal about it anyway. Numerous other celebrities concur with Washington and even say that Will Smith at long last showed his real essence during one of his exhibitions. Humorist Dave Chappelle stated that Smith at last dropped his veil of flawlessness. As the comic said, Will did the impression of an ideal individual. For quite a long time he ripped his cover off and showed us he was, however revolting, as most of us anything the results. Maybe I truly want to believe that he doesn't return his veil on once more and allows his genuine face to inhale. And obviously Will is more than anxious to show the business many individuals who actually continue discussing this episode and calling him names who he truly isn't, folks. It seems like he, the entertainer, has recently got everything rolling his mission against every individual who continues to drag his name through the mud, and got some information about time so that everybody might see Will's malicious nature. Could we at any point, all can we as a whole, say that we've seen it coming? Were you astounded it resembles when I got past that banana at me? Do you think I was shocked? Abilities, like with each new endeavor to assist with willing Smith return to the best way, he's getting increasingly more irritated at individuals who hope everything works out for him, and Denzel Washington is really one of them since he was there just after the episode. And as per Denzel, during a business break at Oscars 2022, he pulled Smith to the side and consoled him not long after the slap. After Will himself was grateful to such an extent that he referenced Denzel a couple of seconds after the fact in his discourse he shared with me a couple of moments back. He said, at your most noteworthy second, be cautious. That is the point at which Satan comes for you. Evidently at that point, Will Smith was certain that Denzel Washington is his ally, and he never thought his kindred superstar to examine his persona in such a manner, saying that Will's livish nature assumed control over his thinking. That evening, for reasons unknown, Satan snagged him out of that situation that evening, as many individuals accept. Will Smith's ideal picture had been destroyed that evening after he strolled to the stage to slap Chris Rock. And since that second, the entertainer accepts that each individual in Hollywood sees him as the need might arise to be secluded from the public eye. It didn't add to Will's self-assurance when Denzel referenced how happy he was having many individuals around who could prevent Will from another episode. Individuals there me, as well as others in the whole Tyler Perry, came right promptly thereabouts with me. And the entire experience was stunning to the center, not exclusively to the foundation grants attenders. Yet the world, too, on the grounds that it has never should be an evening of viciousness, obviously, since such embarrassments have never occurred before. Will Smith is quick to manage the results of his own decisions, and evidently deciding by his response he doesn't take the situation well, and continues to defy every individual who thinks for even a moment to picture him in a terrible light. In some way, the entertainer continues failing to remember who is the genuine casualty of this story. Individuals I didn't hurt, it actually harms. I got late spring ringing in my ears anyway. As Will Smith accepts the jokester sought his merited retribution during his stand-up parody, Extraordinary Specific Shock, where he transparently discussed the slap, and surprisingly, made a couple of pokes at the entertainer during his presentation. Rock pondered potential reasons of Will's brutal way of behaving, and he reached resolution that it was Will's significant other Jada who woke Satan inside this man by her ceaseless cheating, as Rock expressed. Will Smith rehearses Specific Shock. Everyone understands what they have happened. Every individual who truly knows realizes I didn't have anything to do with that stuff. Yet it appears as though Will is worn out to see his legitimate name being hauled through the mud by essentially everybody, and he will not permit any other individual in the Broadway talk seriously about him, and consider the entertainer a savage and demon. Individuals slighting you when you got a grin, and you must imagine that weighs oak. No big surprise, Will Smith is sincerely broken by what's befalling him profession and notoriety, and is anxious to blame everyone for disregarding him. There have been some prominent celebs who straightforwardly censured both Hollywood and Will, like Jim Carrey, who hammered the business and its kin for giving Smith a thunderous applause following his Best Entertainer succeed at a similar foundation grants. The Canadian humorist said he was nauseated by the show of approval the entertainer got and guaranteed that he ought to have been accompanied out rather for his savagery. I was nauseated by the wildly energetic applause. I felt like Hollywood is only yellow on mass. Clearly each and every proclamation damages Will Smith to an extreme. And presently it got to that place that he doesn't actually attempt to figure out who is hoping everything turns out great for him, and who is against him. It appears as though he's excessively shaky to think sensibly. And when somebody like Denzel Washington, an individual with extraordinary impact and regard, starts referencing Smith's name alongside some wicked doings, plainly Will doesn't need this sort of correlation. Certain individuals imagine that Will takes everything excessively near his heart, yet it just so happens the Oscar-winning entertainer is taken care of with the entire occurrence, considering he had communicated earnest lament and regret about his bad behavior. There is no important for me that feels that was the correct method for acting anyway. As Will Smith says, Denzel's examination was an unadulterated bad dream, and it may not work well for him in future, particularly considering the way that the entertainer had proactively endured side effects for his activities and got a 10-year restriction from the Institute grants. As many fans say, Denzel Washington clearly amounted to nothing vindictive, and his words were loaded up with adoration and compassion toward Will. Yet, as we as a whole realize, Hollywood is brimming with misinterpretations, and evidently this is precisely exact thing ended up willing Smith While the virtual entertainment is examining the potential showdown, the greater part accepts that Will Smith is just causing his own downfall. By not thinking reasonably and loudly going after every individual who wishes him, well as one individual remarked this was exactly the same point that Denzel made to Will, which he personally rehashed. I love Will, yet his life is going down the channel. I wish we would meet up and uphold him. And another client added, I was harmed and crushed after the occurrence. This episode has numerous repercussions for the local area. The truth of the matter is Will is severely harmed and harmed. I really do uphold Chris, yet will require a ton of assist.